You're cleared to engage your target, Stalker 1.
Just a practice shot, Command, don't worry. Command, I'm approaching the extraction zone.
Stalker 1, this is Command. Exfil is 10 mics out. Due to your mistake with Victor 8, you now have multiple enemies closing in on your position. There is a supply stash near your position. Clear out the enemies before Exfil arrives.
Groovy.
What's going on? Today we're going to be going over the craziest airsoft gun I have ever seen in my life. This is the Gen 12 HPA Airsoft Shotgun by Wolverine Airsoft. We're going to go over some of the features, some things that I really like about this gun, and what really makes this gun an S-tier level airsoft gun here. This shotgun is a 1-to-1 Taran Tactical and Genesis Arms replica, as seen in John Wick 4. Wolverine teamed up with Taran Tactical Innovations and Genesis to produce this absolute unit of an airsoft gun. Now you're probably seeing this giant magazine here. This is a 140 round mid-cap magazine. I know it's an issue when you switch from one platform to another and that has proprietary magazines. It just makes it a little bit more expensive because you have to buy a whole loadout's worth of mags. With this gun specifically, it includes that 140 round mid-cap magazine that is gigantic, but the gun is also compatible with the standard 308 size magazines. So if you already have an MTW 308, you can just go ahead and start using this one right out of the field with those magazines. The 308 magazines are also more readily available on the market, so you have a lot more options when it comes to magazines. So that's a really good feature I like about this, because you don't have to continually buy new magazines. You can use the ones that you currently have. So because this does fit the standard 308 magazines, this is also a standard MTW 308 spec lower receiver. So that means you can put almost all compatible MTW 308 upgrades in this bad boy. It's pre-installed with a FRAC, a fixed rear airline connector. You have a BCM pistol grip here. This is a real steel BCM pistol grip. Just like all the other MTWs, they are real steel compatible. You have ambidextrous controls, so that's pretty cool. The magazine release, unfortunately, is not ambidextrous, but the pretend bolt release, or the pretend bolt is. The pretend bolt here is on each side with these charging handles. It is ambidextrous. And inside you might notice a blue engine. That is the new Wolverine Havoc engine that was designed specifically for shotguns. So what that one does is it loads 8 BBs into a chamber and then shoots all 8 BBs at the same time out of the same barrel. That gives you an increased consistency when it comes to FPS and power output, because all the BBs are being impacted by the same burst of air. So you can adjust the power of this bad boy from half of a joule to just over 1.1 joules. So you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to your velocity output. All right, let's go over some of the things that I really like about this gun. First and foremost, it is the most fun I've ever had shooting an airsoft gun. The fact that it shoots 8 BBs every time I pull the trigger is an absolute dream when it comes to the idea of a shotgun. So the fun factor for this, I think, is extremely important to consider, because at the end of the day, this is airsoft, so you want to actually have fun and enjoy the game, and this definitely lets you do that. Next, this big gun only weighs about 4.1 pounds. So it allows you to hold it up for much longer opposed to some of those bigger, heavier full metal rifles. It's made from CNC aluminum, and they did a fantastic job with the machining here. It's absolutely beautiful. If you get your hands on one of these, just take a second to appreciate how clean it looks and how smooth everything is. I really like that. Another thing that I really like about this gun is the controls, or AR controls. So it's really easy for me to pick it up, and my thumb already knows where the selector is. I don't have to learn a new manual of arms. It feels very natural for me to pick this up, and that's something that also is important to consider when switching platforms. Is it going to take you a minute to develop that muscle memory to get used to actually using the gun? So for this one, it is extremely similar to an AR. Most people use the MTW ARs, and it's almost the exact same setup for that. Moving on to the top here, you have a top-down center pop-up adjustment here. And I like this because it's not in the fake bolt cover. So traditionally, with a lot of guns, you have to pull the bolt back, hold it, and adjust the hop-up in here. With this one, it's just an Allen key on the top here that you can just put your tool in and just spin it there. But in all honesty, you're probably only going to need to set it once, because this thing sprays 8 BBs, and after about 20 yards or so, the spread is massive. So you're probably only need to set this right in the beginning when you first get it, select your BB weights, adjust your hop up, and you can probably just never think about it again. So I really enjoy that it's an external adjustment and not a internal adjustment there. Included in this gun is also the Spartan Electronics standard in a lot of the other MTWs out there. So that means you can actually adjust the rate of fire and select different firing modes for this bad boy. So there's also a neat feature called anti-spam mode, where it locks it to semi-auto only, and it creates a very low rate of fire. So if your field has very strict rules when it comes to these types of guns, you can now access modes like this will help you play safer. Another thing I like about this, specifically, it has the fixed rear airline connector pre-installed right out of the box. So instead of having the airline out the grip like a normal HPA system, the FRAC allows it to be wired through the rear, so it's out of your way, and it looks a little bit cleaner in my opinion. We also sell the FRAC separate, so you can install this on other MTW series, so check that out on our website. Finally, this is an absolute beast of a gun. This is the most fun I've ever had playing with an airsoft gun. And that is a really big thing to consider when choosing an airsoft gun, is how fun is it? Is it actually going to add joy to your game? And that is a really big pro when it comes to the Gen 12 shotgun, because it absolutely puts a smile on anyone's face who shoots it, and that's something that's really important, especially in airsoft. We've just looked at some of the things that I really like about this gun that I would consider pros. Now let's take a look at some of the cons, in my opinion. First is the receiver wobble between the upper and lower receiver. This does have no impact on performance, so that's a good sign. Next, the KeyMod rail. They chose to go with KeyMod because they wanted to keep it exactly 1-to-1 as the real one, which I understand. However, for an airsoft point of view, I feel like everyone switched out their KeyMod stuff to M-LOK like 10 years ago. And we really didn't have any KeyMod accessories laying around the shop that we could put on this. So in my opinion, I would have liked to see M-LOK, but I'm sure they're going to come out with other handguards or other shotguns down the line that will address this issue for sure. Another thing that I would consider a con is the threads on this. I understand it is a shotgun and they do want it to be 1-to-1, but the threads are non-standard, as you can see here. For airsoft purposes, I would have liked to see the standard 14mm counterclockwise thread on there, so you could just pick up your existing tracer unit and put it on, because at the end of the day it is one single barrel, and that's what all other airsoft guns use. So it would have been cool to see that thread pitch on there instead of the current chunky thread pitch. Another thing I want to talk about is the hop up. In my opinion, I would have preferred a dial or a wheel up here instead of having to use an Allen key. I think that would make it a little bit more user friendly than having to carry around a key with me to access that. Other than that, I really appreciate how it's a top-down center hop up and it's not internal and you have to access it by moving a dust cover. So I would have liked to see a wheel on there to make it a little bit easier, but that's just me and my preferences. In my opinion, one of the biggest cons about this gun is that it's basically illegal. A lot of fields in the US either ban HPA guns or ban shotguns, and this being an HPA and shotgun, it makes it very susceptible to these regulations. So it makes it really hard for players who have a field that don't allow this type of thing to really enjoy the full use of this airsoft gun. Next, let's talk about the price point. I can see this being a pro and a con, so depending on what side of the table you are, the price point may be a make or break deal for you. However, for $1,200, you're getting an S tier gun. This is an absolute beast on the field. It is innovative. They have a whole new engine in there that shoots 8 BBs per shot out of one single barrel. You're getting the premium construction, premium internals. You're getting a lot for your money, and I think that is where the price point comes in. However, the price point can also be a steep barrier of entry for a lot of people. That being said, this gun wasn't meant for the masses. This was meant for a select few, a certain type of airsofter who's really into the game and really wants something absolutely crazy and absolutely unique. But I would have liked to see the price a little bit lower. However, I understand that when you're doing collaborations with big companies and you're offering official trademarks and all that types of stuff, that can really impact the price point. All in all, this is an S tier gun. You're absolutely getting what you're paying for. It's a plug-and-play solution for people who want something incredibly different and very unique. So you can learn more about this and take one home at skirmshopusa.com. Happy skirmishing.